Okay, so if you're just starting out on your journey of knowing and using your numbers, or even if you're not, to be honest, if you're a long way down the rabbit hole and you're still finding yourself to find it a little bit challenging, these are my 4 key principles that I really want you to bear in mind as you're going through this journey. Hello and welcome to the Profit and Cashflow Mastery podcast. I'm your host, Gavin Smith from the Profit Analyst, and in this podcast, I'm going to be showing you how simple, easy, and more important, how practical numbers can actually be for you as a small business owner. I have a pretty extensive finance career and background, but more importantly and more relevant to you is I'm a small business owner myself. I've built multiple businesses from startups and turnarounds through to 7 and even 8-figure plus businesses. And what I've learned along that journey is how to make numbers really simple and easy and practical and how to use them to guide you in your business strategies. And ultimately, that's what I now love doing. I love teaching other business owners how to make the numbers simple and easy so they can gain real clarity about their numbers. I love showing them how to identify what numbers actually matter in your business, but more importantly, I show you how to use your numbers so that you can make better decisions, which ultimately leads to better profitability, better cash flow, and growing and scaling businesses. So let's dive into it. I'll name what they are, and then I'm going to take you through them all one at a time and why they matter, how to use them. So first one is materiality. The second one is insights over accuracy. Number 3 is actions, don't just analyze. And number 4 is simplify. So let me touch on each of these one at a time. So the first one, materiality. This is a concept which I've taken from my early days in my finance career where I was an auditor. So when I first started out in the accounting world, I was an auditor for KPMG. It's one of the world's biggest accounting firms. Being an auditor means every other week you're in a different business, having a look at somebody else's financials, and you're trying to make an opinion on whether those financials are accurate, yes or no. So you're there to do a bit of investigating and looking at the financials and making sure that they're accurate or not. But because it's impossible to review every single transaction, particularly in the bigger businesses, we use this concept that we call materiality. Are those numbers materially accurate, yes or no? So as an auditor, you go start any job, you look at the size of the financials, and if it's like a small business which is doing, say, $1 million worth of turnover, you would say the materiality threshold is about $5,000. That means if we find transactions that are $5,000 wrong, we would just ignore them. We would say it's not material. It doesn't affect the overall accuracy of these financials. If at the other end of the scale, we were auditing Boral or BHP, some of these big listed companies here in Australia, materiality threshold would be set at around $1 million, i.e. we're finding transactions that are things that aren't quite right, but as long as they're less than $1 million, we would deem them to be not material in this situation because they don't change the overall picture of understanding that business's financials. Okay, bring this back to you and make it relevant. Again, materiality. My point being here is we've got to just be looking at the numbers that actually matter, not getting caught up in small parts of your business that don't actually matter to the bigger picture of your business. I often see this when I'm looking at somebody's profitability and trying to work out, how this business makes profit, and the owners can be stuck, yeah, but I also do this other little thing on the side here that sometimes does this. Like, these things are confusing you and distracting. We've just got to focus on what matters. So that's what step 1 is, materiality. Focus on just what matters. The next one, point 2, is insights over accuracy. And this really applies so much to finance for a lot of people where they just get too hung up on making sure everything is spot on accurate before they will pull back and have a look at what the numbers are saying. Particularly if you're looking at a tool like my profit calculator tool, where we're looking at what drives profitability in your business, understanding the big buckets, the big categories, and how the numbers work together. Some people can get really hung up on wanting all the specifics, going and finding all the actual numbers and adding them up with the calculator, minutia to the dollars to get it really accurate. Whereas oftentimes, as long as it's 90% right, we can see what the insights are. We can see what the numbers are telling us to go and do and to take actions within our business. So don't get caught up going down the accuracy rabbit hole and trying to get everything spot on right to the dollar. Once things are about 90% accurate, you can probably pull back and realize what the numbers are saying and what decisions you should go and do. And this leads us straight into principle number 3, which is take action, don't just analyze. It's a common trap that people go into when we start giving them all these great tools to be able to analyze their numbers. They love to analyze their numbers for the first time, but they just get so hung up in looking at the numbers and not actually doing anything. Anytime you're looking at your numbers, looking at what's going on, you should be thinking, that's great. What are the 1, 2, or 3 action steps I now need to go and take? What are these numbers telling me? And literally working out what are the actions I can take this week or this quarter, depending on which sort of numbers you're looking at. Make sure you take actions. Don't just sit around looking at financials and then going back and doing whatever it is you're doing without learning from that information. And point number 4, simplify. This goes back to what I've talked about previously in terms of P&L simplification. You don't need to look at hundreds of numbers to understand what drives profitability in your business. You can simplify that down to just 5 key numbers. Sometimes sometimes even less. Again, this is where I can see people getting a little bit hung up on trying to get things really accurate or understand all the details before we start understanding what the insights are telling us and what the actions are. And so we really need to, wherever we can, simplify numbers down. It's one of my core values at the Profit Analyst business. It's all about simplifying financials. If we can look at something in color-coded charts, do it. If we can have less categories, do it. If we're mapping out somebody's cash flow, there's 20 lines there, it's too many. It needs to only be 10 to 15 max. We got to simplify everything down and make it super easy so that it's so much easier for our brains to be able to just look at that information, find the insights, find the actions, and go and take it. So there you have it. Those are my 4 key principles for knowing and using your numbers. Number 1, materiality. Number 2, insights over accuracy. Number 3, take actions. Don't just analyze. And number 4, simplify everything to its simplest possible form. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Profit and Cashflow Mastery. If this episode helped you gain clarity with your numbers, then please make sure you give us a 5-star review wherever you're listening to this. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast. And if you want to stay connected, make sure you give us a follow on the socials at The Profit Analyst.